After a lengthy Formula 1 career spanning 14 years, 229 race starts, 19 podiums, 4 pole positions and 3 race wins, culminating in famously scoring Force India's first points at the 2009 Belgian Grand Prix and fulfilling his dream of stepping into the cockpit of a Ferrari, if only for 5 races. Giancarlo Fisichella made a surprise return for the 2013 season to help the struggling Marussia team. After a rough start, he scored his first points for the team at the 2013 Monaco Grand Prix to the delight of the paddock. However, after the next race in Canada, he mysteriously disappeared, never to be seen again for several years. Some say he was kidnapped and held in Sebastian Vettel's basement after taking him out, while others say he got addicted to Pokemon Go, although he probably just went to do some winning at 24 Hours of Le Mans. Either way, the time has come for good old Giancarlo to make yet another return, this time to form the Yellow Banana Dream Team. So then, here we are, finally in Australia for the return of the FisiCareer, where we will be stepping into the shoes of veteran Formula 1 driver Giancarlo Fisichella as he returns to the grid again for the 2016 Formula 1 season. And the team that we will be driving for is a team that Giancarlo will be very familiar with from his past experiences in the sport. And that is Renault, a team he drove for from 2005 to 2007, playing second fiddle I guess to Fernando Alonso of course in his 2 championship years. But this time he's back with the motivation to return Renault to their former glory and claim the number 1 driver status within the team alongside the man Kevin Magnussen. But before we jump into the action for the first race, let's have a look at how our first weekend back has gone so far. So the weekend started calmly with us just settling into our new surroundings, checking out our new desk, meeting Emma, our contract lady.
Well then, good luck this season, and I'll catch you later.
And checking out our new garage, and making some weird hand movements. And then of course checking out the racetrack at Albert Park, in first practice for the track acclimatation R&D program. That went pretty well, managed to complete it with the best lap score of 505, and then we went back in, met Chris, that's our R&D dude, and I swear that is Anton Crofty sitting over by my desk, isn't it? Pretty sure it is. And of course, there's K-Mag, our new teammate! Hey Kevin, big fan, although I'll have to smash you I'm afraid. And then he was back out on track for practice 2, doing our tire management program, completing that one as well, racking up some more R&D resource points. However, for the qualifying pace program, a mistake on the first lap of that run ruined our lap time and our tires, and that meant we didn't actually manage to complete that one. So a bit of a letdown there, but still 2 out of 3 R&D missions done. And in terms of positions then, a pretty slow start to the weekend. We were last in both of the first 2 practice sessions, and only moving up to 19th with the super soft tires in practice 3. So on to qualifying, where the target set for us by the team was to qualify 17th or higher and of course beat our teammate Kevin Magnussen, who had also been assigned as our rival for the start of the season. So into Q1, and it didn't start off particularly well because already on our first flying lap, about to start our first flying lap, and we immediately get caught up in Mercedes shenanigans, with Rosberg passing us into turn 1 and then getting held up by Hamilton coming out of the pits. That meant we were on our back foot already on our best set of tires in the session. The second lap went a bit better, moving us up to 19th position on the provisional grid, but we were still 1 position down on our teammate Kevin Magnussen and 2 positions down on the target set by the team. So it was all down to this last lap, which also nearly saw some trouble happening as Rosberg and Nasser were making babies on the racing line, putting us off a little bit into turn 9, and then a slide on the exit put us off even more. Although we managed to save it, and we were still up by just a fraction on our previous lap in the session, but it wasn't quite a perfect lap, so we just had to bring it towards the line without losing any more time through the final few corners and onto the main straight. Full power, DRS open, and then cross our fingers that we could move ahead of Magnussen. But we could not. We stayed in P19, although that did turn into P18 as Nico Hülkenberg was disqualified from the session, and we would actually move up a couple of positions more on the grid. As you can see, Felipe Nasser and teammate Kevin Magnussen both had 5-position grid penalties. So I'm not quite sure what happened with them, but that is 3 positions for us that we will gladly take. And you can see the incredibly close qualifying rivalry. 4-4 between us there in terms of the stats, but unfortunately, because we failed both of those 2 goals, we are actually dropping down in terms of our status within the team. And after qualifying was all said and done, here is how the grid shaked out. Rosberg on pole position ahead of Hamilton at the front, with Raikkonen and Verstappen on the second row. Vettel and Ricciardo followed them, and then an impressive qualifying from Carlos Sainz put him all the way up in 7th. Romain Grosjean got Haas into the top 10 in qualifying on their debut, while Button were the best of the McLaren Hondas in P12. We're chilling out in P16 just behind Esteban Gutierrez, and with Pascal Wehrlein on the grid slot directly behind. And with that 5-place grid penalty, Kevin Magnussen all the way down in P21. So then, here we are on the grid for the Australian Grand Prix, the first race of the 2016 season. And you can see all the drivers and the crew getting ready for what should hopefully be a very exciting race here around Albert Park. This man, Nico Rosberg, will of course be aiming to take the championship title from Lewis Hamilton, which has failed to do in the previous 2 years, while our focus will be a bit further down the field.
Excellent job yesterday, we qualified above expectations. Let's go out there and put in a performance.
So I guess although our performance in the qualifying session in terms of pace wasn't above expectations, our actual starting position on the grid was, hence the engineers' enthusiasm there. And now it is time. It's a calm before the storm, the formation lap.
Okay, how was the pull away? You'll have a bit more grip than that on the start, but we need to warm the tyres properly now. Make sure you get some heat into the brakes as well.
So yeah, all about just getting ready for the race, you know, calming yourself down, getting focused for the start, and of course keeping an eye on those temperatures with the tyre temperatures and the brake temperatures as well. So while we go around for this formation lap, I'm going to give a bit of information regarding our current settings and such for this career mode. First of all, and perhaps most importantly, we are running 50% distance races, so half of what you would see in real life, but still pretty long. I believe it's a 29 lap race here for the season opener. In terms of difficulty, we are racing with no driving assist enabled as always, so no traction control, no ABS, no racing line, and using manual gears to shift, of course. The AI difficulty, however, is set to Legend and not Ultimate for this one, at least to start with, as that just seems to be the most appropriate difficulty level for me at this moment in time, and what looks most likely at the moment to offer up some interesting races. I will, however, not be using any custom setups for this series, so any potential advantage I might have gained over the AI there will be non-existent, but it will allow me to spend more of my time out on track and less time in the garage messing around with settings. So just a little bit more enjoyable for me that way, even though there might be some time left on the table as a result. But hopefully throughout the season, our R&D performance and upgrades to the car, and of course actual performance out on track, could be what will bring us further up the field, more so than anything else. The damage setting is set to full rather than simulation, since I've heard the AI can be a little bit reckless at times. And in terms of strategy for this opening race, our race engineer did offer up the option between a one-stopper and a two-stopper, with theoretically, according to him anyway, the one-stopper would actually be slightly faster by a few seconds. However, my intention is to go for the two-stopper, the more aggressive strategy here, basically with the intention to hopefully enjoy the opening race as much as possible, picking the strategy that will allow us to push harder for the whole race on the better tires and not having to worry too much about tire management. So it does remain to be seen how that will work out for us.
The rest of the grid is forming up. Be patient and watch for the lights.
But it is now time for the lights to come on and then go off again, as we go again for the FisiCareer here at Australia in the Renault. And the lights are out and away we go. The Yellow Banana Dream Team is off and running, and we've already gained one position. We might gain a few more. We're going up the inside of Fernando Alonso, going into turn one, trying to take it nicely and easily, and there's a bit of a cluster of cars on the outside, and they've slowed each other down a lot, and we have managed to pick the line that has allowed us to gain several positions, up to P9 all of a sudden there. flying start from FisiCareer on his comeback as we're now defending from Daniel Kvyat in the Toro Rosso going into turn 3, managing to hold on to that one. You can see the top 5 in the race have already kind of broken away a little bit, but we're not really going to have to worry about them. For us, it's all about focusing on this midfield scrap and all those positions that we managed to gain. Not quite sure how that happened, but just seemed to be a lot of cars trying to go for the same piece of track on the outside of turn 1, and that really just ended up backing the pack up a lot. And we were a bit lucky, I guess, with the line that we picked through there. The one part of the track that didn't have lots of cars going in there. If we had started on the left side of the grid, we probably would have been in the outside of turn 1 and been involved with that one as well. But we managed to get the better of it, as Carlos Sainz is having a look up the inside into turn 11 a little bit. It was not Kvyat then, actually. We were defending from into turn 3. It was Sainz, and he's still trying to attack us with seemingly better straight line speed, but he is not able to hold it. Oh no, is he? He's right there, actually, still trying to hold it around the outside in the final few corners, but eventually had to back out of it and actually got mugged up completely by Valtteri Bottas as well in the Williams, who has dropped way down the field on the better tires as well. So a really poor start from Bottas there. We are of course starting on the soft tires, so not the fastest compound to begin with, meaning we are going to be on the back foot in our mission to defend from Valtteri. Now going on to the second lap of the race. But wow, what a first lap for us. We have gained a lot of position into the top 10 in the Renault as well, as Valtteri Bottas now coming on the inside into turn 3. He's going to go for the gap. He is going to go for it, but we managed to see him coming, leave him room, and just carry enough speed on the outside of the corner. With a bit of a slide then into the next one as well. And then the flat out turn 5, or maybe not quite as flat out there. We had to go a little bit off the track to keep it flat on that occasion. And you can see the massive train ahead of us. P6 is actually closed up to the top 5 a little bit, or at least some of the top 5. Oh, as we have outbraked ourselves a lot there, nearly accidentally hit the back of Perez. We had to kind of turn out of the corner to avoid him, and Bottas has taken advantage of it and slipped through on the position. And so we're back having to focus on Carlos Sainz, who's really all over the place behind us. And now through turn 11, speaking of all over the place, he spun it. He has turned into Jenson Button there, I believe.
Sainz, they've got a serious car issue. It looks like they're retiring.
And yeah, as you can hear, Sainz is out of the race as well, retired from the damage caused in that incident. So Carlos Sainz, the first retirement of the season opener here in the return of the FisiCareer. But that's fine for me. We are still in the top 10 somehow, and you can see behind Jenson Button actually there's a huge gap forming there as well. We're now going to get a replay then of the start of the race. You can see me on the left side there kind of pulling out of everyone's slipstream, which ended up being a good idea because you can see the Red Bull there. I think it was Daniel Ricciardo who really kind of cut the corner and went straight into a couple of cars, which really bunched everyone up, allowing us to pick up all those positions on the outside through turn 2 and kind of create a temporary Fisi train there. As we're now going to see how exactly that looked from Ricciardo's view, and you can see he had a couple of cars on his left and then completely just cut the corner, went way too far over to the left hand side of the track. He managed to recover nicely actually, maybe with a bit of front wing damage for him. Has Carlos Sainz even, who was bang in the middle of all that, but slowed down so much, and he was probably the main kind of cork in the bottle there in terms of the cars behind being held up as a slow exit, and then me just appearing casually ahead of him out of turn 2. As we are now back with the live action, but we are currently watching of Williams, that is Felipe Massa, and then Max Verstappen battling it out for what would be 4th position in the race, potential maybe 5th actually. Well, yeah, I assume 5th, because I think both the Ferraris and both the Mercedes are out in front of this group. But Massa really causing a train ahead of the Red Bulls, causing them a lot of trouble. As Verstappen, unusually for him, he and his aggressive self not able to make a move on him at the moment, as we are about to enter lap number 6. And all we can really do is try our best to try and keep up with these cars, which are cars that of course are much faster than the Renault that we're in. As we are now jumping on to lap number 7 as well, and you can see we are keeping a nice gap to Button behind, actually pulled the gap on him, 2.2 seconds to him, as we have just... Ooh, I was going to say within a second of Bottas, he's had a problem, has Bottas. It's slowed down completely on the straight there. So Bottas with a technical issue or an engine issue on his part, and you can see how slow he's going. It can't have been an engine blowout because there's no smoke coming out, but it's definitely a technical issue, and Jensen Button just can't get around him. Oh my god. Classic. Button just unable to turn to the side. Oh, actually, there we go. Bottas turning slightly to the left there, which allows a few cars through, but now everyone else is getting held up there. The Haas and the Sauber, and a massive train behind Bottas as the Grosjean, I think, finally makes his way through the Sauber as well, and now the cars come flying. But this is an absolute clusterfuck. And all of these cars losing so much time, but surely this can only be good for us, because these are all the cars that we now have virtual safety car as well. But all those cars been held up behind Bottas there are cars that, you know, those are the cars that could potentially take a top 10 finish away from us. So having them lose all that time definitely is helpful. You can just see the gap to Button, who's still the car behind, but he's gone from 2 seconds behind to, I don't know, probably about closer to 10. So a bit of luck for us. I guess we'll have to take it as a VSC now about to end, as we're closing in on Perez and nearly exceeding the delta time a little bit. But it's fine, it's all good. Racing speed is back underway. And we are in P4 actually, so obviously most, if not all, of the cars that started on the super soft tires have now pitted. And now on lap number 10 we are up to P2 with even more cars having pitted. Only Sergio Perez is ahead, who's leading the race, but he's been held up by Bottas, I think, who after that technical issue is still going, but now holding up and refusing to be lapped, it seems. But Hamilton's been in the pit lane, as Verline now out of the race. It's all happening as we just casually been passed by Mercedes, because why defend? There's literally no point for us to defend from Hamilton. There's no way we're going to be anywhere close to him by the end of this race, with him having already he's already a pit stop ahead of us. And now the Ferrari as well, similar story. That is Sebastian Vettel, the man rumoured to have locked Fisichella in the basement in all these years he's been away. But this time we managed to let him through without taking him out, which, well, will keep us out of the basement for at least a few more days. Oh, and that's the reason for the yellow flag. There's Verline. I swear it already said that he was out of the race, but he was sitting there on the track still. No safety car as a result of that though, just the yellow flag for the moment. And now, at the end of lap 11, we are going to go into the pits for a first out of the 2 planned stops that we have in the race. Slowing down, not being as cautious as I maybe had intended to be there. So it was a decent pit entry, I think. And now we have fitted the super soft tires, the fastest compound available here for the first race. But look at all the cars that we are going to end up on the track behind. That could potentially get a bit spicy in a minute, but for now we have a bit of clear in air to kind of get used to these super soft tires and get up to speed. Now the end of the lap, we have closed up to the train with Ericsson in the pits. We nearly lost the back end completely there, and again through the final corner, really struggling with grip in this car in the first race. Despite being on super softs right now, and a lot of cars in the pits, at least 4 of them in there. We are not quite in the top 10 yet, but you can see Harry Janto still out there. He's now holding up Massa and Alonso just ahead of us as well. So surely he has not pitted yet and will be doing so very soon. Alonso on the same tires as us, of course. Fisichella's old teammate in the Renault back in 2005 and 6. Back then Alonso was a main man within the team, but now in this race maybe we can take the upper hand, as we are now actually going to do it straight away by taking advantage of Alonso being slowed down by Harry Janto there, and he's actually dropped a lot of time on the X's as well. As a result, we left him enough room, but he decided to kind of shove himself off the track and drop into the clutches of Kvyat as well, who's now passed him back there. So Alonso not having a friendly encounter with Giancarlo on his return, and now Harry Janto, as expected, goes into the pits on those soft tires. So we are back in P9 where we were before, which is good, as Kevin Magnussen in the pits, and actually we're in P8 all of a sudden. Gutierrez was in the pits as well from ahead of us, as we're nearly scraping the rear end of Felipe Massa now, who is on the medium tires, and it's going to stay dry to the end of the race, which is good to know. But now we have a chance then on Massa, who is in a faster car but on a lot slower tires. So maybe we can use the DRS here to get a move up the inside into turn 1. We are closing enough despite this shitty Renault engine. And up the inside into turn 1 we go. Massa for half of the corner, tried to hold it around the outside, but then completely backed out of it and dropped himself at least a second behind. Just from being slow on the exit and not taking any chances. And oh no, K-Mag is out of the race. What have you done? Oh, and here's the reason. Yeah, look at that. A massive cloud of smoke out of the engine of K-Mag. Heartbreaking for him on his return, of course, as well to F1. And his first race for Renault. That's not how he would have wanted that one to go. But at least our Renault engine is still going and has moved us up to P6 at the moment. But Verstappen, I believe, has pitted one more time than us. I think anyway, maybe, and even though it doesn't really matter because it's just past us there with a lot better speed going towards turn 11. Didn't want to be too aggressive with him, as Massa maybe now trying to fight back after passing us earlier, taking advantage of our slow exit out of the corner. But again, we're managing to keep it nice and tight and hold him off on the inside of the corner. So you have to say, it's looking pretty damn good for us in P7 at the moment, but I think overall in P8 probably, I guess. I'm not quite sure how we went from P9 to P8 to be honest. Or even P7 overall. I have no idea where I am, considering everyone's on different strategies it seems. Especially Massa, who's on those medium tires. Who I'm guessing he might not even pit then, but until the end of the race. But he's still trying to pass us back, which is not good. We really don't want to be stuck behind him on those mediums. But again, he's unable to hold it up on the outside, or is he? Oh, it's very close and he spun it. Massa has tapped the rear tires of our Renault, and now is taking lots of time as he's stopping on the racing line for some reason, nearly taking the Ferrari out. The Haas has to avoid him and now reversing on the racing line, kind of stuck on the curb a little bit. Okay, so an interesting few seconds from Felipe Massa's brain there. But we are back in the pits for a second stop, on with another set of the fast super soft tires and out in P11. But again, we just have to wait and see kind of how this checks out, as we luckily just managed to get ahead of Jenson Button. Despite all the stuff that's been going on in the race, Button was just behind us in the first stint. Now he's suddenly behind us again on this on the last stint here, and attacking us as well. But as we've done so many times, we're managing to keep it clean on the inside of the corner, and the AI really struggling to pull it around the outside. Even the Massa did try it to his own detriment just a moment ago. But now more pitters. Let's see. So Massa has pitted again for the super soft. Gutierrez though, I have no idea whether he's going to pit again. You would assume not actually, because we're now on lap 24 out of 29, so it's only 6 laps to go in the race, so it's probably too late for Gutierrez to make another pit stop. He's going to make this medium set last until the end of the race, so we're going to have to pass him then. We are in the top 10 after all the pit stops have shaken out, but we were in P8 before, so I guess we need to pass a couple of cars now if we want to take that back, and the first on that list will be Gutierrez, of course. So although the Haas car theoretically at this stage should be a bit faster than the Renault in some ways, I'm hoping that the tyre advantage that we have here, still not too worn those super softs either, so I'm hoping the tyre advantage should be enough for us to get the move on him, even though we didn't get the best exit out of turn 9 there. We just gotta try and find a gap somewhere, or just try and be close to him by the end of the lap, so we can have a move down the main straight, or maybe just get a bit of slipstream here. No, not quite yet. He's had a really slow entry there. We might just improvise a little bit and take him in that corner. That's not really a usual overtaking spot, but taking advantage of his slowness out of the previous one. And that should be job done on Gutierrez for P9 in the race. And you can see massive gap behind Gutierrez. And unfortunately for us though, massive gap ahead as well. Grosjean, who also one-stopped on the mediums, managed to get back ahead of us only because of strategy. But the gap was just too big for us to catch him by the end of the race. But still though, I mean, we have been quite lucky in the race with turn 1, the backing up, I mean, that happened there, and of course then that whole Bottas incident and a few others as well. But we have finished P9 on a return for Fisichella to Formula 1.
Good job, you did really well. Super driving.
incredible re-debut here in Australia, scoring Renault's first points of the season already, much sooner than I'm sure the team would have expected. A team that would have expected a great result though is of course Mercedes. Hamilton's won the race ahead of Rosberg, with Vettel the last man on the podium, and you can see them being pretty happy about that one. But let's see then, just for the sake of curiosity, how the Mercedes boys were battling for that lead of the race. You can see Hamilton started and had a lead into turn 1, but then Rosberg passed him back, or at least tried to, into turn 3. Hamilton fought back though with the inside for turn 4, and it's a side-by-side action from the get-go between the Mercedes drivers. And Rosberg actually getting the upper hand, and feeling the need to defend as well going into turn 7. But Hamilton was not done at all. He got a slipstream going into turn 11 and tried in a very audacious move, going side by side through 11 and 12. That's not something you see very often. And Rosberg just clinging on desperately to the win of the race that he would have wanted over Hamilton, of course. But Hamilton round the outside with the Red Bulls and the Ferraris backing off behind and still on the outside. I mean, I really wish this was real life, because how much have we seen Mercedes battling like this? Not very often, but here we can get it, and Hamilton retaking that position by the end of the lap. But Rosberg wasn't done then, because in turn 3 on the next lap he was really trying, got his car marginally ahead, but then Hamilton this time even further ahead through that one than he was on the previous lap. And then you can see Rosberg losing ground on the exit, and Hamilton just didn't look back from this point on. I believe the two Mercedes drivers might have been close later in the race as well, but Hamilton managed to pull away and win the race by 6.8 seconds over his Mercedes teammate. And then Vettel in third, miles ahead, absolute miles ahead of Ricciardo in fourth place. And then Perez, who was leading the race briefly ahead of us, of course, he finished 15th, and great race for him. And then Raikkonen, Verstappen and Grosjean, the other men, finishing ahead of us, and Gutierrez taking the final point. So double point score for Haas in the first race, which is interesting. And then you can see a few non-finishers, Kevin being one of them, of course, Wehrlein and Sainz the other two. Bottas got lapped after his issues, and Hülkenberg only recovered to 14th after starting from a dead last. And here's then a quick little overview of the resource points that we gathered for this race, and then the rivalry update. Obviously we're gonna get quite a bit of a K-Mag on this one, considering we scored points and he didn't even finish the race. So we're gonna reclaim all of the lost ground from our poor qualifying performance. And then we have the driver standings, which is very uninteresting for the first race, because it's exactly the same as the results. But of course the big story being that we have started off the season by scoring 2 points for the championship, which is going to move Renault up to 6th in the constructors, ahead of Williams, surprisingly, who didn't score any points, ahead of Toro Rosso, ahead of Sauber, ahead of McLaren Honda, and ahead of Manor as well. But then that has been it. We finally got here after every other YouTuber has basically done 8 seasons of career mode. We have finally come to the end of our first race, and with a positive start to the season for FisiCareer and a half positive start for Renault, of course, not quite as positive with a K-Mag, but that's just how it goes. I hope you have enjoyed this first race. The second one, of course, will be in Bahrain, and I will try my best to get that out before you all are dead. So stick around, guys, for round 2, eventually from Bahrain. See you then. Goodbye.